So I will tell you that probably the biggest mistake any organization makes is to approach solving this as a technology problem as opposed to approaching this as solving it as a business problem. Right? You can't implement all this the data-centric security practices. You can't implement encryption. You can't implement data tagging and marking. You can't implement anonymization and all these other things like that that are important to be able to control and mask and hide and protect your data in the environment without being able to go to the business and say, how do you use data? What is the data used for? Who needs this data? When do they need it? How is it used? When is it appropriate? When is it not appropriate, right? How does the business function and operate? And the same is true for zero trust. Zero trust is a great solution to minimize the damage to the blast radius. What happens in zero trust implementations that typically don't go well is that they go in and they say, oh, it's a technology problem, go ahead and implement zero trust. And then the business rebels because it gets in their way of getting their business done, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. Right? If we go in and work on solving the problem of how do I harden my data, how do I implement zero trust intelligently, how do I implement the necessary policies and governance, rules, guidelines, and all those things like that, we're having we thought through this ahead of time, right? So that's the most important thing. You don't start with technology, you start with the processes and the governance, and those other layers are on top of that. Because then you understand how the business functions, how the business works, and you can begin to implement these things in a manner that supports the business. I can tell you, having in the past done this at depth, it's a wonderful thing when you do it well, because what you can do is you can abstract away all the complexity from the user. The user doesn't have to know that encryption is happening. The user doesn't have to know whether or not you and I can share data. I can just simply say, hey, Christy, have you seen this? And the system can say, I'm sorry, Christy isn't clear to be able to see that piece of information. She can't see PCI data. She can't see health data. She can't see whatever it's going to be. You see what I'm saying? And so what we want to do when we do this, this is called thinking through the problem ahead of time. So that when you design it and you implement it, it actually makes the business function better as opposed to getting in the way of getting business done. I will tell you, to close on this, is that whenever the security solutions get in the way of the average employee getting their job done, the average employee finds ways around the security, which only weakens it, right? And so it really behooves us to really seriously think through, and again, do those upfront steps of thinking through how does the business function, what are the policies necessary, how is the data utilized, all these things like that become critical. Which systems does any given person have to be able to touch and use and be able to get their job done effectively?